A mother of two is being terrorised by an unknown stalker, with threats to her life, armed police turning up at her door, and anonymous 999 calls saying she's murdered her children. But who was behind this campaign of abuse? You're watching Totally True Crime. In January 2023, Megan Brailsford was at home with her two children in Peterborough, Cambridgeshire, when she was startled by a knock at her front door. It was 11 p.m. She wasn't expecting anyone, so she went downstairs, opened the door, and there stood 6 armed police officers with guns and torches shining in her face. They explained that they were there because someone posing as Megan had logged onto the Cambridgeshire Police live chat and said, "I've killed my kids. I need your help. I've buried them on the dog walking trail." The police entered Megan's home and discovered that both of her children were safe and asleep in their beds. It had been a sick hoax. The police left, and Megan was left wondering who would do such an evil thing. She didn't have any known enemies. She was a newly single mother. She was close to her family, and she worked as a veterinary nurse. The police opened an investigation to figure out who had done this to Megan and who was wasting valuable police resources. But just a few weeks later, the same thing happened again. A man called the police after he received a random message on Snapchat from someone posing as Megan. It was from a fake account, and the message claimed that she'd stabbed her ex-partner and wanted the man to call the police on her behalf. Thinking that this was a prank, the man dismissed the message until that same account sent him a photo of a bloody crime scene with a man lying on the floor in a pool of blood. The man called the police, and 3 ambulances and police cars raced to her home with blue lights and sirens on. But when Megan answered the door, they soon realised this was another sick hoax. Megan started receiving messages on Facebook from fake accounts, including one named Megan Daly.
"You look beautiful today."
Though these messages quickly turned sinister.
"Let me kill you. I'm gonna run you off the road. Just fucking kill yourself. It will make everyone happy. I hope you die. 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 Die."
She received death and rape threats, and her mother and best friend also started getting messages from these accounts on their social media too. And then one night, when Megan was at work, her ex-partner Daniel Dugdale was woken up by the police. The police had had a 999 call from a woman who had received a random Snapchat message. It said, "I've killed my ex-partner. Can you call the police? I can't bring myself to do it." Daniel called Megan on the phone. She was at work, and the officer spoke to her. She confirmed that she was safe, and again the police discovered that this was another sick hoax. Megan and Daniel were certainly being targeted. The police encouraged Megan to file a report on the stalking and harassment that she was receiving. They also encouraged her ex-partner, 29-year-old Daniel Dugdale, to do the same. This was not the only unwanted communication they were both getting. They were both getting taxis and takeaways turning up to their houses that they hadn't ordered. They both had silent calls from withheld numbers and anonymous messages on social media. The stalker even contacted social services, making false allegations about Megan's parenting in an attempt to get her children removed from her care. In another incident, the stalker created a fake email address using Megan's name and wrote an email to the governing body that provides the official register for qualified veterinary nurses, requesting for her to be taken off of it. At one point, Megan was getting a phone call or a message every 4 seconds. Megan's mother and best friend received a message from an anonymous account saying that she'd died. The message said,
"Hey, this isn't Megan. I just needed to add all her friends to tell them that she sadly passed away last night. She took her own life. I couldn't get access to her Facebook to message people on her account."
Megan's best friend called her sobbing and was so relieved when she answered the phone. Megan's mental health had been rapidly declining because of this stalker. She was barely sleeping, she'd lost a lot of weight, and she was constantly on high alert. Hearing that she might have taken her own life was starting to be something that people could believe. The messages she was receiving on her phone and social media continued to come, growing more and more sinister by the day.
"The windows at the front are your kids' bedrooms, right? When you look out of your windows at night, you might catch a glimpse of me. Nice dog. Would be a shame if it died. Megan, are you ready to die?
Daniel, Megan's ex, was also receiving messages and voice notes from anonymous accounts, and they were always about Megan.
You need to protect Megan. Tell Megan to drive safely. I could be following her. Hi, Megan and Daniel. We are watching you, and we are coming to get you.
Megan and Daniel were both asked to surrender their phones to the police so they could be forensically analysed. They discovered that Megan was receiving hundreds of messages a day. Whoever was behind this campaign of terror was committing their life to it. Megan's phone was examined, and the officers were shocked by what they found. She'd been sent pictures of dead dogs, animal sacrifices, extreme pornography, and even videos featuring bestiality. Daniel planned to come in, but then he rearranged his time. When the investigating officer returned from a few days off, she came back to a slew of messages from him, putting pressure on her to find the culprit. Everyone was on high alert. The police were alerted to another message that had come via social media. This time, it was received by a woman local to Megan. An account pretending to be her had messaged this woman asking her if she had kids. When this woman asked this fake Megan why she needed to know if she had kids, she said that she needed help. She'd killed her partner and her own children, and she wanted her to contact the police. Investigators went to visit this local woman, and she told them about the message that she had received. But while she was going through the details, this woman said something that would send their investigation in a whole new direction. She said that on the same day that she received a message from the fake Megan, she'd also received one from a man that she'd met up with once. He'd started messaging her out of the blue on the same day, and then he kept trying to call her. She told him that she couldn't answer the phone. She was dealing with something important, and he then sent her a message saying that he thought he had received the same message that she had. When she asked what message that was, he said that it was a hoax, claiming a woman called Megan had killed her partner and kids. But this woman never told this man anything about the contents of the message. She didn't say who they were from. She just said, "I've got something to deal with, something important." They asked her if she had the name of this man. She did. It was someone she'd gone on a date with once, but because he'd been clingy and obsessive, she'd called it off. His name was Daniel Dugdale, as in Megan's ex-partner. It was starting to look like he was behind the campaign of abuse, not only stalking Megan, but also sending messages to himself to make him look like a victim. The man that she'd let into her home, into her life. He'd met her children, her family and friends. So why would he want to do this to her? Megan and Daniel had been together for 4 years, but during their relationship, Daniel had been violent, controlling, and he'd cheated on her many times. Megan found out that Daniel had cheated on her again in early 2023 and broke off their relationship for the final time. She deserved better, and she could see that now. An examination of Megan's phone did link some of the communications back to Daniel, but they needed concrete evidence to build a strong case against him, and they were only going to get that by seizing his devices. So they made a decision. They were going to arrest Daniel Dugdale. Just that he doesn't need any legal advice, and that he knew what he was going to say. In his interview, the officers list the messages one by one that Megan had been receiving, asking him if he was responsible for sending them to her. He denies them all, and he reminds the police that he too got messages. He also says that he had the police at his door on several occasions. He assures them he wouldn't do this to himself. He thinks they're both being targeted. The officers then play Daniel some of the threatening voice note messages that Megan had received. In a moment that he seems to think is triumphant, he says to the police, "Did Megan tell you that I found the voice changing app this person is using?" No? Well, there you go. She's doing me dirty. Whilst the interview is being conducted, the digital forensic officers start analysing Daniel's phone. They discover he has over 80,000 messages between him and Megan stored on his device. In the Notes app on his phone, the investigator manages to retrieve previous notes that Daniel had written but deleted. One of those notes is the message sent to the police live chat, where Megan claimed to have killed her children and buried them on the dog walking trail. It's exactly the same, word for word. When Daniel is confronted with that message, he says 3 important words. It was me. He tells the police that he wanted to hurt Megan so that she would need him. He tells them that he's never met anyone like her. He wanted to be with her, and that his life was so good when they were together. But when she left him, it took all of that goodness away. He said he created this elaborate plan for one purpose: to get her back. Daniel still didn't admit to everything. He said he didn't call social services, and he alluded to others being involved in this campaign of stalking and harassment, but the police never found any evidence that anyone else was involved. The police called Megan and told her that Daniel had been behind the whole campaign the whole time. She was at work when she received this call, and she said afterwards she sobbed in the arms of another nurse. She was hopeful that her ordeal might finally be over. In an interview with Channel 4, Daniel said, quote, "Megan was left in fear for her life and of those she loved, especially her children." One of the most disturbing things that Megan discovered about Daniel came when she was redecorating her home whilst he was on remand. As she removed pictures and other displays that had been hanging up, she found handwritten quotes that he'd crudely written on her walls in a marker pen. One of his quotes was written below a hole that he'd made in the wall, and it said, quote, "This hole was made because love hurt. Love hurts." Another said, "Just know I was proud to call you mine, all my love forever, Dan." Daniel Dugdale was charged with 3 counts: stalking, inciting fear of violence, and perverting the course of justice. He was sentenced to 3 years and 9 months in prison. Megan was granted an indefinite stalking prevention order. In an interview with Channel 4, Daniel said, "I'm looking for love and connection. My next girlfriend will be my last." Thank you for watching. If you found this video interesting, please subscribe for more weekly true crime videos like this. You've been watching Totally True Crime.